Did you change anything up, like training wise, after you've got that year of experience in 23? Did you do anything different going into 24 physically to prepare, or was it purely like I need to go learn how to ride jank?
Yeah, the latter. Yeah, learning how to go ride stuff, because I ended that season knowing that I was like one of the fitter guys in the class for sure, and I had the foundation to take that to the next level, and that's kind of not going to come easy to me. It's horrible, it's painful, and it's hard. But that's kind of with Jared's guidance, that kind of comes a bit easier than learning how to ride the bike in hard stuff. And what that looked like was me spending a bit of time in Medina and never shying away from the mud, like just riding the most horrible conditions I could whenever I could, because you can be a fair weather rider in the off season in Australia. I know where you are, you can't, but you can pick and choose. You can only ride when it's perfect conditions. But I just made it my business to ride stuff that I didn't like. And another thing was we brought Kenda on that year, and Kenda makes an incredible mud tire. So I used to kind of have this weird belief of like rolling speed above everything, and I still believe it to an extent. Like rolling speed is super important, but like when it gets hard, adding this mud tire and experimenting with like a bit more tread just changed my life. Like it was unreal. Like not being afraid to just slap the muds on and roll a bit slower. That was Mick's ethos, is like, you're going to hook up so much quicker on these things that you're going to forget how slow it rolls on the fast bits. So yeah, it was an equipment, it was a skill, and I guess partially a physical thing.
Yeah, fair play. So you're coming into 2024 then, the season that Shimano have said they're going to win. You're ready to go. And am I right in thinking you put quite a lot of focus that year into the transitions?
Yes, I did. Yeah, that's a big part of the game plan for us, was because the e-bike thing is a very kind of fickle battle of making the bike last the day. And I guess the dialogue around being light is honestly most poignant when you're going uphill on the liaisons, on the transfers. Because if you've got 15 kilos less body weight, and that sounds like a lot, but that's actually what we're dealing with in some cases. There's some whippets in this category. They can save so much battery going up the hills. They can preserve their batteries for the next stage. And by extension, they could use a smaller battery and use a lighter, more nimble bike. So Mick and I were on a 630, which isn't a gigantic battery. There were bigger batteries out there. But so there were some days that were like really hard to point blank finish, let alone finish them strong. But yeah, coming into finale, I really did put a lot of emphasis on the liaisons, because a little bit of foreshadowing from the day before, the regular bikes, the liaisons were brutally timed. Like the liaisons were super, super short. And like even looking at them before the race, I knew they were going to be short. But it took Richie and Slav's suffering for me to realize just how short it was going to be. So I was like, all right, we're going to win this race on the liaisons, I reckon. Because like it's all fine and good to be fast on that 10-minute stage, but if you're at threshold when you drop in, it's going to really sort out who's fit and who's not. So in practice, there's the opportunity to use shuttles, even on an e-bike, but there's the opportunity to use shuttles. Mick and I made it our process to do a full course recon. We had Garmin on board, so we were able to record the amount of time it took to get from one liaison to the other, and we could map the amount of battery consumption we were using against the time. And I guess we could kind of create a formula of what mode we needed to be in, how much power I needed to be generating to make it there, and how much time spare was going to be. So it ended up getting super, super scientific. It's all on power meter. We had the crank power meter and the bike modes. And when race day came around, I knew what I had to do, and I knew it was going to be really, really hard. And I don't think other people did. Like there were some people who were blindsided really, really bad, people who didn't bring enough carbs, people who were having to like really dig deep just to make it to the stage on time. And like I was seeing people dropping in, like doing max heart rate, and I was like, we've already beaten you. So that was like, I really, really am grateful for Mick's guidance there, because that was like such a big win in terms of preparation. Like that was amazing. And like these liaisons were brutal. It was like, it was warm, and we were doing like, there was a liaison I had normalized like 320 watts for maybe like 30 minutes. Like, and that's after I've just done like a 15-minute long arm pump stage. Like it's hard work. And like any data nerds out there, that was a 400 TSS day plus. And yeah, it was brutal. Really, really happy we
full on
invested the time into getting that sorted. And that's the Yeti way, the leave no stone unturned.
Yeah. And you lock your nutrition to some extent into that timing as well, right? I think you're sticking shot blocks to the top tube and like, I'm halfway through the shot blocks, I must be halfway through the transition sort of thing. There's a link there to make sure the nutrition's dialed.
For certain, yeah. And that's, I have my girlfriend to thank a lot for that. Ellie's got a really solid pedigree in road racing. So she's got more nutritional information in her head than I could ever have. So the off season of 2024, along with all of the stuff that we were talking about, is also a bit of a nutritional awakening and kind of realizing just how much like carb you need. And I guess kind of taking a leaf out of the road side of things to figure things out. The pacing of the food was a big thing because like Finale was a bit of an anomaly. Finale was a really hard race. Other ones weren't as hard, but in Finale, like all I could eat was gels and liquid carbs. So there was no luxury of Cliff Bars and stuff. I saw people trying to eat Cliff Bars and they were breathing too hard that they couldn't get them down. Like that was another preparation thing. And yeah, I have my girlfriend to thank for that. But yeah, I'm a big fan of lining my top tube up with shot blocks and just like smashing them as I go. It's a pretty goofy thing to look at when you're rolling out of the pits, but hey, it works.
Yeah. And there's more more and more dense carb products available, right? Which I think is what the roadside's been tapping into. And that helps you through those big days, I suppose. And
that's, I guess, Jared always programs 1 or 2 horrible races in the year. And last year and this year, there's a race called the Otway Odyssey. It's a marathon event, cross-country event. So a little callback to the old days. But there's a 100K and a 50K. And I usually hit the 50K. And it's always a really good event for me, first of all, to kind of like set my threshold heart rate for the year because it ends up being a bit like that. But then also kind of like pushing what my body's capable of in terms of carb intake and like really, really testing it. And I guess getting quite scientific with what's needed to sustain my physiological max. And having that data really goes a long way when it comes to translating it to racing in the race season.
Yeah, some smart work going on behind the scenes. So that Finale win at the start of the season, then, was that a surprise, or could you see that coming once you understood the event and knew what was going on?
Huge surprise. Okay. Like I'd done some races where I'd won stages, I'd won power stages. Like I'd had bits and pieces here and there, but that one race was the first time I really put all the pieces of the puzzle together. And it was such an odd feeling because like I didn't feel like I was doing anything special on race day. Like I felt well prepared. I was riding well, but like I was putting in time where I was like just riding my bike. I was just riding like Ryan. I wasn't doing anything special. So just to see my name just start floating to the top and then just seeing that time gap get bigger and bigger and bigger throughout the day, it was like kind of shock. And I guess rolling into the pits after the big, like the Queen stage sort of thing, I think I put 11 seconds into second place and like 17 into who was coming second in the overall. So it was like, man, we're really close to wrapping, like to getting this thing done. Like I just got to finish the day. And then, for the rest of the day, I was just thinking about like riding my bike, riding it safe, riding it smart. But then there was also that little thing in the back of my head. It's like there's a bonus waiting for me at the end of this. There's a prize money. There's a leader's jersey. There's a super sick photo on the beach with Richie after this. Like that was playing in my head a little bit. And dropping into the last stage, DH men, very, very iconic stage. And I had like 30 seconds up my sleeve and Mick was like, good job, Ryan, you got this. And I was like really surreal. And like when you're riding it, when like everything just starts falling into pieces, you start catching green lights and it just starts to happen so naturally. Like I felt like I rode that last stage like the biggest squid ever because I was like 30 seconds, like the track's only like a minute and a half long. Like I just have to not crash and have won a World Cup. And I just like stiff legged my way down and still went top 10 on it. It's like, it's that kind of, you're catching green lights. It's kind of hard to not keep that momentum rolling. And then we got to the bottom of the stage, Richie's there, Jared's there, Mick's there. And we get to ride from the last stage back into the village, and it was just like bliss. It was like, oh man, this is great. Got to take in that view for real. Very nice.